Okay, hi guys. It's Mike from tradestalker.com. Last week, went through a rundown of the technical situation when we were struggling at resistance, a key resistance above. I marked it on the daily chart and a 60-minute chart and a 5-minute chart last week. Here's our last week as we ended the week. This is the key area that showed a lot of rejection and thought that we had a top end, and stated that on a bounce at the end of last week's tape, stated at the end that at most on Monday a bounce up to 1330 to 1331 ought to be it for any kind of rebound before the downside would get hold based on a technical situation. We'll look at that in a second. And then this is Monday's first hour for 60 minutes. They reached 1330 and a half hourly bars here and ended the day by coming down to that 1317 gap fill, 1317 and 3/4. We got the 1317 and a quarter on that day, and then firmed up a bit onto the close. Followed through then with a gap down the next day, and this area then turned into, and is an hourly again, a bounce back onto Wednesday, right into resistance, support turned resistance, excuse me that. Then Thursday, gap down. Down here was we had key support 1297 and a half to 1296 and a half zone was held by half a point, and they rallied back. Friday is in here. Thursday was here. This is close, and then Friday kind of waffled around that area and finished the week just above that. So let's go back and look at the underbelly here of the market. This is a price action. See how the internals are keeping up here. Again, we stated last week that we had these series of narrow range days where we closed within about a 2-point range on the ES, and this gap at 1319.45 on the cash was filled. Let's look at the internals here. The bigger picture internal gauges to begin with here. We'll look at the intermediate term. These were just beginning to roll over on the intermediate term, and some damage was done here last week on the this is a volume gauge, intermediate term volume gauges, and this is intermediate term breadth. Also, intermediate term has turned down a bit. It'll take a bit of a number of days of good breadth internals to get that turned back around. As for the short term, what got us down to good support, finally down to that 1298, just under 1300. Last week I showed a few oscillators. I noted that the WCOM oscillator was just last week getting under the bottom band. It needed to go a little bit further and turn up, which it did by Wednesday, Thursday last week. Wednesday, Thursday. Also, last week we had on Friday the RBI oscillator was just going into oversold territory. It needed to go a little bit further and turn up, and it did here. It got down to the 1 level, 1.00, turned up. I think I stated also that I like to see the 3-day thrust at the same time be at an oversold condition. At the last week on Friday's close was not yet under the -50 level. It got to -67. there on Wednesday, Thursday, turned up. So that we got deeper oversold. One other thing to show here is the RBI sell model, and that reached an oversold reading similar to this last spike low. Other oscillators that I didn't show because they weren't quite there, or they were still a ways away, but the Herlin index made a nice drop here when it was up around this area for last Friday. Made a nice drop down to the bottom oversold area and it's turned up. And short-term volume, there we go. This is the 3-day volume and 3-day breadth. This also got pretty deep into the oversold area, and 3-day volume, not quite as far, but pretty close. So we got into a deep oversold condition and a bounce back, and now pretty much into neutral territory on all these indicators, all short-term indicators, with the exception of something odd going on here at the moment is the VIX has dropped like a stone. The 1532 close on Friday, today's April the 17th, April the 15th, it was is a 52-week low. Also, it put the VIX SP ratio all the way up to 86.14. It was above these spike highs that were way off the charts. So someone's got to give here. Sentiment, I also noted sentiment was last Friday was still overly bullish, and the downdraft took care of that on a sentiment basis on the short term. But basically, the only fly in the ointment here, the S&P did close back above 1317, settled above 1317 on Friday. That area should be pivotal. Either the VIX is going to reverse, which would give some more sell signals on the VIX, or it can drop down further because it's not yet at a very extreme level. It could drop further with prices going up. So it looks like we could have potentially another day or maybe 2 days of an attempt to continue the upside. And then we should be at another key spot where the market should begin to come down. We've come down. We actually were under all moving averages, except the 200-day moving average for 2 days last week. We were under the 5, 10, 20, and 50-day moving averages. Didn't stay under there long. It was the same as the last V bottom that we made. I really have my doubts that we can make another V bottom here and just run right up and make new highs. Anything's possible, but I think that's not going to be in the cards this go around. Just above here. Well, first off, key support right now. The ES needs to stay above the 1314, 1315, 1314 area right now. A break back down below 1314 area would be a negative. It would break the stair-step higher pattern by the ES on the upside. So we need to stay above that, especially not have a few closes on an hourly close below that. If that is broken, then on a bounce back, we would expect very short term that a bounce after a break of 1314, that then would make 1317 area, 1318 good resistance and key resistance on a bounce. On the top side, I view this area where we're at currently on Friday, right around 19 highs. Follow through on the upside, take us up to 13, 1320 and a half to 1321 and a half area. So right around 1321, which is just a bit above. Above that would be around 13. There's 1328 at the next max level. It has to contend with 1324, which is a minor area. But basically, the big area is around 1321 area, and then up around 1328. Those should be any kind of key on a bounce. So to fine tune this, if you're not a member, you have to come and join us at tradestalker.com and catch us on the intraday, instant messages, and this week more audio. So this is another update from TradeStalker. Hope it's useful, and have a good week trading this week.